Titus is back, and we've got a few more details you may have missed in the Space Marine 2 trailer. We are going to do a spoiler of a 10-year-old game, which is the first Space Marine ending. So if you don't want to see that or don't want to know about the spoiler, go play the game and then come back to right now. Our protagonist in this video game is going to be Titus. Now, if you notice, I didn't say Captain Titus. Some things have changed. First up, you can see from this image that he's got 4 service studs on his brow. Now, each service stud represents, when they're gold, each service stud represents 100 years of service as a Space Marine. Therefore, he's served as a Space Marine for at least 400 years. If you remember back in Space Marine 1, he only had 2 service studs, meaning at least 200 years have passed since the time of those events and the current game. Furthermore, he is no longer a captain. He is wearing the helmet of a lieutenant, as you can see from this image. He's got a red stripe with 2 white stripes on the sides, which is the standard Ultramarine paint scheme for a lieutenant. Therefore, he has been demoted in some capacity. Thirdly, he's got a chain on his wrist. Ultramarines aren't known for wearing chains to combat. That's probably from the Black Templars. And if you remember from this clip, he got taken away by an Inquisitor and 2 Black Templars. Now, my theory is that he got taken away to prove that he was not tainted by chaos and made some friends, in air quotes, with the Black Templars, and this chain is a way to remind himself of his time away from the Ultramarines. At least that's my theory, and that's what I'm going with. Now let's talk Tyranids. In the trailer, we can see that the main antagonist, at least to start, is going to be Tyranids. We have some Hormagaunts on the screen. There's also a Tyranid warrior that is leading this pack of Gaunts. What's really cool about this, and it's very subtle, is that after the fight with Titus, where he emerges victorious against the Tyranid warrior, you can see in the background the Hormagaunts scatter off. This is like synapse breaking, and they are no longer going to want to fight because the will of the hive mind has left these Hormagaunts, and they're like, nope, I'm out. Which is a really cool touch and a really nice nod to the game. Furthermore, there's also a ton of gargoyles. You can see these clouds of things in the sky. Those aren't clouds, folks. Those are Tyranid creatures. A bunch of gargoyles and a lot of air units. We may even end up fighting a bunch of those too, which would be a nice touch. Now, you might have also noticed that they are Primaris Marines. You can tell from their armor, which is the new Mark 10 Primaris armor, that they are decked out in full Primaris regalia. Furthermore, they are also using the new pattern bolt rifles and not the old bolters. We can see the guy on the left has a bolt rifle based on the clip, and the guy on the right has the drum magazine, which is indicative of an auto bolt rifle. We also can see Lieutenant Titus using his Astartes chainsword as well as a heavy bolt pistol in close combat with the Tyranid warriors, which is also a really cool nod. Funnily enough, we do see them drop in from a Thunderhawk, which, according to the rules of the game, may or may not be completely legal, but we're going to give them the rule of cool on this boat and just go with the Thunderhawk drop-in, which, you know, looked pretty rad. Now, as a big fan of Space Marine 1, I'm glad to see there's some really cool mechanics returning in Space Marine 2, as we can see in some of the gameplay footage here. First up, there's the slam attack with the jump pack. Now, it's kind of funny. He's a Space Marine, Primaris Marine, wearing a jump pack, which maybe we're going to get some new units. We'll find out later. But you can see from this really cool animation that Titus is slamming in on the middle of this big pack of Hormagaunts, scattering them and destroying a couple, more than a couple. A great mechanic they brought back from the previous game from this look. We can also see that this game is going to be another third-person shooter, which is great. That helps capture the visceral combat and action with that over-the-shoulder camera. You get to see Titus's animations. You get to see the violence that he is inflicting upon his targets, which is awesome. And you just get a really great view of everything going on the screen. It's a really cool cinematic way to look at things. And it also just helps separate it from some of the other shooters out there. So this is going to be a not cover-based third-person shooter, which is super cool. Now let's talk sound design. All right, we're going to play a little clip here, and I want you to listen carefully to the buzz of the chainsword. You hear that? That's the buzz I'm talking about. It's really cool to see Saber Interactive has paid attention to the weapon sounds and has really filled those out and made them sound really cool. I'm excited to hear some of the other weapons get fired off. like bolt rifles, las guns, and all of the big ordnance that you would expect in a Space Marine game. So the sound design in this has already got my seal of approval. We'll see if they can continue to do that with other fun stuff that we may find out later in the game. Another really cool thing about the game design is the mechanics they're using to facilitate the hordes of gaunts. Now, during the presentation, they mentioned that one of their influences was World War Z.
Games like Halo, Quake Champions, World War Z.
World War Z, obviously you're familiar with the book name, but it was also a video game that had a really cool horde mechanic where the zombies would kind of work together and use themselves to like tower up structures and you'd have to shoot them down and stuff like that. But it was a really cool mechanic. So the fact that they name dropped World War Z as kind of the inspiration for this game tells me that they have some really cool horde mechanics planned to kind of be the AI for all of those gaunts running around. So I'm excited to see what they do. I'm excited to see if you can break the hordes either by just doing enough damage to them or by killing the synapse creatures. If that's a part of the gameplay mechanics, I think that'll be really cool. So yeah, I'm very pumped about seeing some returning mechanics and some new ones integrated into the new Space Marine 2 game. So I think that this game clearly takes place at least 200 years after the events of the first game. I believe that Space Marine 2 is going to feature Titus as now a demoted lieutenant who has undergone the Primaris protocol. Maybe he's got to prove himself again as a loyal member of the Ultramarines. He was being accused of being a heretic at the end of the first game. So that's going to happen there. He's got 2 more service studs. Again, that's just proof that it's at least 200 years later. So things have changed. I'm curious to see if any of his old friends, his old battle brothers are going to be in the game again. I'm also curious to see if we're going to have multiplayer options. I think it would be really cool if we do have some sort of couch co-op mode. May or may not happen, but you do see 3 Marines, and we also had 3 Marines from the previous game that were kind of like analogs to his crew. One of the big features of the first game, in my opinion, was the PvP modes. It was some of the most fun I've had playing online with friends and against randoms. It was a lot of fun, and I really hope that they bring back some of those multiplayer options. I think the campaign was great from the first game, and this looks like it's going to take a couple pages out of that. And I really hope that the multiplayer components there for this third-person shooter go above and beyond my expectations. First off, I hope there is a co-op component to this game, and secondly, I hope that the competitive modes, the PvP modes, are just as good, if not better, than the modes from Space Marine 1. It's a pretty high bar to clear, though, so we'll see if that works out. We are super excited for Space Marine 2, and if you want to see just how excited we are, check out our reaction video of the trailer right here. I'm Adam here from Bulls. Thanks for watching.